and I am here with another Mixed Media Mayhem Friday, and today Adam chose stencils, flares, and ink sprays for our assignment. It is also the start of Off the Board, and I decided to join in every other day and do a Christmas in July kind of off the board. And what I plan on doing is repurposing all of those Christmas cards. So I went through and checked out all the pins that had repurposed Christmas cards. Today I am going to fussy cut some of those Christmas cards apart and make a couple rosettes. So what I have here is I have an awesome new Vibes spray that I picked up from Shimmer's Paints, and it is called Frog Get Me Not. I think that's so cute. And it is a Vibes, so I will have to shake it up and get that color from the bottom, or the sparkle, I should say. I also have a stencil from Echo Park, and then I'm really using a real piece of craft paper. It is not repurposed Halloween. And I picked out a bag that I received a treat in and 2 Christmas cards, which I'm actually going to throw in a 3rd Christmas card later. I have my big old bin of flare that I picked up because I was part of Adam's advent calendar, flare advent calendar. So I have tons of flare to play with. And then I'm going to go and fussy cut out all of the images that I would like from these Christmas cards. But first I'm going to disassemble this bag because I have decided I'm going to use the actual bag for some of the rosettes. I think it would be kind of cool to have a different, especially since it's a craft cardstock like bag, even though it's a little softer. It's not as stiff as cardstock is. So I'm going to take off the ink goober that was on the bag so that way I can, well, it, for one, doesn't get stuck on my bone folder when I go to create a rosette. So I'm going to cut off the jagged ends and the bottom of the bag, and then I will cut along the seam of the bag so that way I have a flat piece of paper to play with later. So that is what I plan on doing to prep this bag, and I thought that I would show you guys how I prepped, my paper if you guys want to do this later. Now, when I create these rosettes, they do not have to be Christmas themed. You guys can definitely take this project and make a rosette for any other theme out there, by all means. I just decided to do something a little bit different because these Christmas cards, as pretty as they are, I have an abundance of them. Okay, I also wanted to figure out a way to 3D this bow up, but I'll have to figure that out later. Right now, I am going to go through and fussy cut out all of the images that I would like to keep from these Christmas cards. Now, when I went through my Christmas cards, I picked like images. So all of these images have trees, sleds, and poinsettias on them. Okay, so for my Mixed Media Mayhem, I am taking the stencil, taking a foam roller brayer, I think is what it's called. Mine is from Stampin' Up, but it is retired because somebody said they liked it, so they had to get rid of it. I know, I would have loved to pick up more of the roller pieces, because I actually enjoy using this tool a lot, and I don't have any replacements for the foam roller portion. Anyways, I sprayed my my ink spray through the stencil, and because it's not full coverage and I didn't want to go all crazy, I used the foam to spread the ink through, and I'm okay with the fact that it didn't make a perfect image because it's just going to end up being a rosette anyways, so not going to see it. Okay, Lazy Man's rosette. I took a full sheet, scored it at a 1/4 of an inch. Now I'm taking the bag and scoring it at 1/2 an inch because of the fact that it is a thinner material, and so it definitely would not have held up if I would have scored it at every 1/4 of an inch. Okay, then I'm taking my 12 by 12 paper, and it is still scored, but I am cutting them down to the sizes of rosettes that I want. Now, when you're doing a whole cluster and you plan on showcasing all of these, different sizes is a good thing. So I've got my 2-inch size, 1.5 inch, and then 1 inch. Now for this bag, I'm going to end up doing 2 1-inch ones, which I add them together because it doesn't make an entire 12-inch long piece. So I will be cutting 2 1-inch pieces and then 4 1.5-inch pieces, just because that's how the bag evenly divided. And then I'll end up doing them end to end. So I only end up with 3 rosettes, even though I have a ton cut. Okay, now that I have everything cut up, I'm going to go ahead and, well, at first I start to accordion fold them. Then that's not how my brain works. I have to figure out how many rosettes I'm making. Do I have enough embellishments to go in the center of the rosette? All that good stuff. So I'm going to separate everything and figure it all out before I start accordioning them. Now for the 2-inch piece one, I am going to have to use 2 strips because of the fact that it's just not enough material to make a full circle. So if you're just doing a half of a fan, that's fine, but the 2-inch one will need to be put together end to end on a 12-inch strip in order for it to make a full circle. Everything else will be just fine as just the 12-inch long ones. And then of course the bags I am doing end to end. Now I'm also using score tape to hold my ends together, and then I will be using hot glue to actually hold the centers together. I have tried the glue dots. They don't work. They never dry, and so your rosette stays smushy. And yes, even though it will work, especially if you're adhering it to another surface, so it's just a temporary hold, that does work. But for me, I like a nice solid stiff rosette, so I am going to be using a hot glue. And of course I forgot to put my hot glue on, so yes, I show it to you guys later that I do have to actually turn it on. But I went and I accordion folded all of my pieces, as well as put them end to end, so I had circles. And this is just the train of thought that I do everything in. When I make rosettes, I make a bunch at a time. I don't like doing one at a time because they're so time consuming. And so I kind of do an assembly line to where I do all of this first, then all of this, then, and so on and so forth. Now for these paper bag ones, again, they are on the thinner paper side, and they're perfect. This paper is absolutely perfect. It's almost like tissue paper, but a little bit on the thicker side of tissue paper, but not quite copy paper either. It's different, but I like them because you can actually have a true flat rosette. And what you do is you build it just like a regular rosette, but instead of leaving all the peaks up, you kind of push them all down, and you can have them going wonky if you want, which means left and right or whatever, or you can have them all going to one direction all the way around in the circle. I tried to make them go all the way down in one direction, and then I just kind of gave up and decided that I like the messy look of it. I really do. I'm figuring out what I want in the center, and I did go back into my Christmas stash and pull out very little bits of embellishment because I wanted the Christmas cards to do all the work for me. So what I did was I pulled out some oval-ish paper clips. They kind of look like leaves and kind of not. So I picked out those. I picked out some gold leaves that are from Stampin' Up! And then I believe I picked out some trimmings that were just leftovers, you guys. Nothing too big. But I didn't want to pull out a whole lot of anything else because I want these cards to do all the work. I still don't have a plan of what I'm going to be doing with all this stuff, but I do know when I create like this, I don't want to say rosettes because that's not true. But when I create in bulk like this, I kind of go for matchy or like items. So for all my Christmas cards that I picked out, they all had trees, they all had sleds, and they all had or poinsettias. And so that was my likeness. So that way, when I go to use them all together, if I choose to use them all as a whole, they'll all match, even though none of them came from the same exact card. So anyways, moving on to the bow real quick, just because it was sitting here and I wanted to give it a try and see if it even, if I even liked it. Plus I was giving my hands a little break from the hot glue gun. And I wanted to make it dimensional. I was struggling using my 3D dimensions. And I ripped the bow and all that good stuff. So, but needless to say, I was able to save it, and you'll see it later. But I did end up putting the two sides together, and they're a little on the off side, so I have to put a flare in the center later, so that way it hides the fact that the two sides weren't equal. All right, creating my very last one right here. I'm going to try to figure out how to add a little bow, just trying to see which one I want to add to it. And I end up doing these pre-made, I made them in advance, little bows out of twine. Okay, so there are all of the rosettes that I created, and I decided I'm going to put them all on a wreath. I thought that they looked absolutely beautiful. I love creating wreaths with rosettes because they take up so much space. They do all the work for you. And they're just perfect. They're the round shape that goes on a round wreath. I don't know. It's almost like they were made for wreaths. Okay, so I took this burlap. Now this is my favorite burlap to use, and it's readily available, to be honest, to use on my outdoor photos or outdoor layouts, my water layouts, all that stuff, because it's not a very tight woven burlap, and I can manipulate it to make it look like netting and stuff like that. So I just took this 7-inch wreath, put the burlap on. Now I have almost a 12-inch wreath. And so I'm just going to arrange all of my images so that way they look good going around this wreath. I've got the bow at the top because that just makes sense. And then I've created a kind of a cute little scene, like the little boy is coming down the hill of trees on the sled. And then of course the poinsettia down at the bottom opposite of the bow, and then the house, the door with the sled. I just love it, you guys. I absolutely love how this turned out. Without even me knowing what it was I was going to do. Now I took a remnant ribbon and wrapped it around the wire and just used some hot glue to hold it in place, so that way I had a hangy bit for my wreath. And that is it. That is what I did for my Mixed Media Mayhem. A little bit different, but it was also pulled off of a pin from off the board. And like I said, I won't be doing this every day because I just don't know if I can do that much Christmas. And these little projects they're going to be kid friendly. I have to say that. So if you want to do something friendly with your, oh my gosh, if you want to do something with your kids, or even a little project like this during the summer would be kind of cool too. It doesn't have to be Christmas, you guys, not one bit. None of these projects that I do have to be Christmas related. All right, be sure to check out everyone else that is playing along with Off the Board. Remember that there is definitely a list of who's playing on what day. I love that Crystal does that. That is so super convenient and so awesome that she does that. So thank you, Crystal, for doing that. Also, be sure to check out everyone else that is playing along with Mixed Media Mayhem. I look forward to seeing what they are creating. Let me know if this is something that you guys are interested in. I do know that I did try to break it up, so stay tuned to see what I have planned for tomorrow, because it won't be Christmas. I can guarantee you that. All right, thank you so much, and I'll check y'all later. Bye.